took care of business last night, beating the Rockets 119-106 in Houston. Kevin Durant led the way with 37 points, and Klay Thompson added 28. James Harden had 41 points, and after the game, Mike D'Antoni said, quote, "I'm going to tell him that he needs to get 55 next time." We're joined once again by Jim Jackson. Jim, how can the Rockets fix this?
Well, you need more than, 55 is not the number. I mean, that's the issue with Houston. And I heard you guys talking about this, the one-on-one basketball. If I'm a defensive coach, it's so easy to guard from, let me correct that. It's not easy to guard Houston, but it's not as challenging.
It's easier.
It's easier because of the isolation basketball. Listen, I was fortunate to play for Mike D'Antoni in Phoenix. The difference then, at that time, even though Steve Nash kind of dominated the ball, but he dribbled with purpose. Okay, it was that high pick and roll, that side pick and roll, the middle pick and roll with Amari. The difference with this Houston team, and we know it, is that their top three players are isolation players. So the ball doesn't move freely enough. We talked about 30th in the league and, passing the basketball. It's a difference. So Golden State's top three players, they catch and shoot. Yep. They move well without the basketball. They don't really need to go one-on-one unless they have to into the shot clock, which makes it more challenging to guard. So you're saying, okay, well, defensively, Jeff Budenholzer did a great job with Houston defensively over the last 2 or 3 years. What do you change? I'm saying it's not the defense. To me, it's how they operate on offense. Sometimes those isolations, quick shots, leads to Golden State getting out on the fast break. Their offense, you can't change it now, but they're going to have to figure out a way to slow that tempo down a little bit more. They came out, I think, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and James Harden was on the bench. They ran a well-executed play. It was a misdirection. They got a nice little jump shot. I'm like, why can't they do more of that? Why can't they make Golden State have to play a little bit more when they play side to side like Golden State is doing with Houston? But to me, that's the biggest key for Houston, is that isolation basketball against Minnesota. Oh, that works well.
Yeah.
Against Golden State, it's not going to work.
I don't think it's their offense. They can score plenty enough points. It's not the point.
But their offense is their best defense.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Their offense puts their defense in situations like in fast break, three-point shots, that now they can't recover, because when the isolation guy's just standing around, there's no movement.
Okay, you on offense, your offense is rolling. What you gonna do about those 27 3-point shots that you let Golden State get off that was open or wide open?
Well, and a lot of them came in transition, though. So that's what I'm saying.
Because think about this. Draymond Green hands the ball off to Klay Thompson like he's a running back, Skip, and heads up court. Nobody's in the screen. No Houston Rockets in the screen. Right. He knows what's going to happen. And that's the problem. Okay, you built all year long. Daryl Morey, the general manager, and
who's the better player right now? Against LeBron.
We're going to get off 53s and we can outshoot them. We can outshoot them. Okay, if you think you can outscore them, I know they can average 30 points a quarter. Can you? Because think about it, they got these guys, these great shooters in their prime. They got 2 MVPs in their prime. You better stop them from scoring, because what happens when you go cold? Because they can go on an 18 in the blink of an eye, because at one point it was a 2-point game, Skip, and the next thing you know, you look up, they calling timeout, they're down 13. That's just how quick that game got out of hand. Let James Harden get 55. But what you going to do when Kevin Durant go get 35, Steph gets 25, Klay gets 27, then what? Can your top 3 players match their top 3 players?
No. Not consistently. No, they can't. I mean, they can't.
There you go.
They can't. But here's the thing, too, Shannon, on that, too, is that this Houston team, when you look at Capella, he has to be in the right place at the right time.
Right.
When they beat him 2-1, you're talking about building a team to beat Golden State. No, you built a team to be more competitive.
Right.
That's what they are. Even though they were 2-1 during the regular season, this is totally different.
It's false.
You built the team to be more competitive, but you can't beat this Golden State team in 7 games. You just don't have the arsenal enough to do it.
So why don't they just call it off?
They should.
No.
But it's more exciting to watch it.
I guess so, because I think after all this discussion I've heard, Houston's only hope in Game 2 is that Golden State just doesn't take them very seriously.
Yeah, and they go cold.
Kind of just say, like they did in Game 3 at New Orleans. They just kind of said,
New Orleans is a different animal. They're focused on this Houston team. New Orleans, it was all like, we're going to get through it. They had a mission against Houston.
Houston has been gunning for them all year. The GM has.
For 3 years.
The owner has. Clint Capella has. He's been saying repeatedly, we're the better team. Nope, you're not.
No.
You can't. It's unfair if you turn Golden State into the heavily favored underdog, because that's how they felt going into the building last night. Like, we got a chip on our shoulder. We're going to show you people. We're going to shut you up. So the only way is if they kind of shut down in game 2, because I don't think James Harden can change who he is overnight.
No.
But the crux of this problem last night was that Kevin Durant touched the ball 34 times and James touched the ball 33 times. Okay, so fair is fair, even Steven. Only 6 times did Kevin Durant hold the ball more than 10 seconds. James Harden, 33 touches, 28 times he held the ball more than 10 seconds. It's dribble, 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 in and out, dribble, dribble, step back, dribble, dribble through the legs. You know how he goes. And after a while, it's pretty to watch. It's entertaining to watch, especially when he steps back and makes a 3.
Right.
Or if he gets to the rim and does some big whipped cream shot at the rim, which he is highly capable of. He is highly entertaining to watch.
Right.
But his teammates are also having to watch long series of dribbles. And they had 3 shot clock violations last night. And you'd say, well, you're trying to hold the pace down a little bit.
The series
it doesn't
on the road
help
for the
you,
right?
Because Golden State is running on
about
you
to get into it.
when they have the opportunity. So Golden State outscored them on fast break points 18-3. So they got virtually nothing in fast break. They kind of turned into a dribble isolation James Harden special team. It won't work against these guys. They're too smart. So they put Steph on him, and Steph says he's still not 100% with his MCL sprain, so he can't go side to side, but they don't care. Okay, so let James score 55 in game 2. Do you think they were worried about that? They'll just offset it. They'll run, they'll shoot.
And the thing you mentioned, Skip, is that when James Harden is doing that and he get laced in the shot clock and he doesn't have anything, he passed the ball to Ariza. Ariza got to jack up a shot. He's like, well, what you want me to do, coach? It's 1 second on the clock. Or Tucker. Gordon took a 40-footer 3 early in the shot clock, hit number back. I'm like, bruh.
I know. But it puts their defense in a bad situation.
Yes.
You know, but think about this. Both teams made 13 threes. But what kills you with Golden State is that they get you with the 2-point shots. Because they're backdoor, they're cutting.
Yes.
They're tougher to guard. All those little things when you're talking about, and Houston can say all they want about, and listen, when we play in the Shannon, you know this, the big dog on the block, that's who you want to play. That's who you want to build up to.
Yeah.
But you got to be built really intrinsically, mentally, to beat a team like Golden State for 7 games. You got to be able to move the basketball. You got to be able to share the sugar, so to speak. You got to be able to have multiple ways to score. This Houston team, as good as they are, is still limited to Chris Paul and also James Harden breaking down the defense and going one-on-one. And it's different when you do it. Steph does it. He breaks down the defense. So does Kevin Durant. But it comes off of movement. They catch it on the go.
Yeah.
Now they force you to have to guard and put you in situations where you're not comfortable.
If you look at Golden State bench players was 8 of 12. Nick Young was the only one that's off the bench that shot a 3, attempted a 3. He was 3 of 5. You look at the Rockets bench, 6 of 13, 0 of 6, 2 of 5, 0 of 1, 0 of 1. And only Nene didn't attempt a 3. You're not going to win with that. You're not going to win with those kind of stats, Skip.
Well, I mean, Eric Gordon had 15 points. That's okay.
But you're hoping that Gordon, like I said, I don't think Gordon has played well this playoff.
Yeah.
He's not shooting the 3 ball because Skip, he was 6th man of the year last year, and he was unbelievable. And he's had some big games, but he hasn't been that consistent force for them off the bench that they'd hoped for. In order for them to beat this team, instead of those 13 threes, that need to be around 18 to 20. That's the only chance they got. Because that's what Daryl Morey and D'Antoni said. We're going to put up 53s. We're going to hope to make 20, and then we'll see what happens.
I mean, they led the NBA by 200 3 attempts.
Yes.
So they're just shooting them from everywhere, and they actually got outshot in attempts last night by Golden State because they're trying to sort of slow it down. And the scariest thing of all for Houston going to game 2 is that Steph Curry was pretty quiet last night.
Isn't that a luxury, though?
Huh?
Isn't that a luxury if you go and stay?
He went 1 for 5 from 3. If he makes 6 or 7, you're really.
But if you look at Golden State, Skip, really they only have one guy that's really looking to take you off the dribble. That's KD. Everybody else is moving without the ball, backdoor cutting you. They're back screening for him, and they're getting wide open looks. Now, if you hug up on Steph will go by you occasionally, but that's not what he. KD's really the only guy that they have that's looking to put the ball on the floor and can get to the rim. Everybody else is a jump shooter, backdoor cut you.
And silly me, I thought at the first of the game, Draymond Green had gone completely over the edge. He gets that technical.
I think he set the tone on that.
Well, maybe he was trying to set the tone.
I think he was.
But he was.
That was
then he
real
had that
close,
foul
though.
on
I know, it was
P.J.
real
Tucker
close.
over in the corner.
Yeah, that was real close. Skip, they could have gave an early talk. They could have get.
Well, he's lucky, too, that tech didn't count as a personal foul. Because if it did, that would have been 2 early fouls for Draymond, and he would have been out the game. And you think about this, you're talking about ancillary players. During the course of the season, when Houston beat Golden State, talked about Aaron Gordon. He had 30 and 33.
Yeah,
he was huge.
Right.
Okay, but again, what do you do in the playoffs? You make adjustments. Okay, can Houston make enough offensive adjustments to get more movement to force Golden State to have? I thought they did a good job of putting Steph Curry in situations where he had to switch.
Right.
But they didn't take advantage of it fully enough to really make Golden State pay for it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's going to be the adjustment. I'm real interested to see what Mike D'Antoni does offensively to try to get more of these guys involved and kind of get the ball out of the hands of James Harden at times.
James, I need you to pass the basketball.
Well,
think that's going to go over?
Well, he can. James has shown that he can be a facilitator.
Right.
And to me, if I'm a scorer, if my guys are getting off, it makes it
my job
easy.
easier.
It makes my job a whole heck of a lot easier.
Well, I think D'Antoni's plan is for James to get 55.
55.
Yeah.
He might need
Or
60.
well, he needs 50. Well, he better get 55 and 15. Because 55
alone
and 3 is not going to cut it.
Jim will be back later in the show. Is this LeBron's worst supporting cast ever?
What?
We'll discuss that next.